Plato was a Greek philosopher who lived in Athens around 428 BC. He was a student of Socrates and one of the most influential thinkers in history. Plato was born into a wealthy family. At first, he planned to enter politics, but the death of Socrates changed his path. He lost trust in Athenian leadership and turned to philosophy instead. After Socrates died, Plato traveled for many years. He studied mathematics, science, and different forms of government. These experiences shaped his ideas about truth and justice. When he returned to Athens, Plato founded a school called the Academy. It was one of the first schools of higher learning in the Western world. Students gathered there to study philosophy, math, and science. Plato believed the physical world was not the full truth. He argued that real reality exists beyond what we can see. He called this deeper reality the world of forms. According to Plato, forms are perfect ideas. For example, a perfect circle exists as an idea. Every real circle is only an imperfect copy of that idea. Plato used stories to explain complex thoughts. One famous example is the allegory of the cave dot in this story. People mistake shadows for reality. Only education helps them see the truth. Plato also believed philosophers should lead society. He thought most people were guided by desire or fear. Only trained thinkers could rule fairly. These ideas appeared in his most famous work, The Republic. In it, Plato described an ideal society based on reason and justice. His ideas were bold and controversial. Plato wrote in the form of dialogues. Most of them feature Socrates as the main speaker. Through conversation, Plato explored deep questions about life. One of Plato's students was Aristotle. Aristotle would later challenge many of Plato's ideas. Together, they shaped centuries of Western thought. Plato lived into his 80s. He continued teaching until his death. His academy lasted for hundreds of years. Plato's influence is still felt today. His ideas shaped philosophy, politics, and education. He showed that truth requires careful thinking. More than 2,000 years later, Plato's questions still matter. He reminds us to look beyond appearances and to search for deeper meaning in the world around us. Socrates was a Greek philosopher who lived in Athens around 470 BC. He is often called the founder of Western philosophy. He did not write books or leave texts of his own. Socrates grew up in a modest family. His father worked as a stone sculptor. His mother was a midwife. This background shaped how he saw learning. He believed ideas were born through careful questioning. Unlike other thinkers, Socrates taught in public places. He spoke in markets, streets, and open squares. He talked to anyone willing to answer questions. Rich citizens and young students often gathered around him. Socrates believed wisdom began with admitting ignorance. He famously said he knew nothing for certain. This idea shocked many people at the time. Most teachers claimed they already had the answers. He used a method now called the Socratic method. He asked simple questions, one after another. Each question pushed people to think deeper. Over time, many realized their beliefs were weak or unclear. Socrates focused on how people should live. He asked what justice really means. He questioned ideas about virtue and goodness. He believed moral thinking mattered more than wealth or power. This approach made him unpopular with some leaders. Many felt embarrassed by his questions. Others thought he was dangerous. They believed he challenged tradition and authority. In 399 BCE, Socrates was put on trial. He was accused of corrupting the youth. He was also charged with disrespecting the city's gods. The court found him guilty. Socrates was given a choice. He could stop teaching and leave Athens, or he could accept his punishment. He chose to stay and face death. He was sentenced to drink poison hemlock. His friends begged him to escape. Socrates refused. He believed obeying the law was part of living a just life. Socrates died calmly among his students. He spent his final moments talking about the soul. He believed death was not something to fear. Although Socrates left no writings, his ideas survived. His student Plato recorded many of his conversations. Plato later taught Aristotle, who shaped Western thought. Socrates changed how people think about knowledge. He showed that asking questions is powerful. His method is still used in schools and law today. More than 2,000 years later, Socrates remains important. He reminds us that thinking deeply matters, and that true wisdom begins with honest questions. Confucius was a Chinese philosopher who lived around 551 BC. He was born in the state of Lu, in what is now eastern China. He lived during a time of political chaos and constant conflict. Confucius was born into a poor family. His father died when he was young. Because of this, he worked many small jobs while studying on his own. He believed education was important for everyone, not just the rich or powerful. He spent much of his life teaching students who wanted to learn. Confucius focused on how people should live together. He cared deeply about family, respect, and social order. He believed society works best when people know their roles. One of his core ideas was filial piety. This means showing respect to parents and elders. He believed strong families create strong societies. Confucius also taught the value of ritual and tradition. These were not empty rules. They helped people act with kindness and respect. He believed leaders should rule by example. A good ruler should be honest and moral. Force and fear were not the best ways to govern. Confucius did not see himself as a prophet. He said he was passing on wisdom from the past. Much of his teaching came from ancient traditions. During his life, Confucius did not gain much political power. He traveled from state to state offering advice. Most rulers ignored him. Confucius died in 479 BC. After his death, his students preserved his teachings. These ideas were later collected in a book called the Analects. Over time, Confucian thought became central to Chinese culture. It shaped education, government, and daily life for centuries. Confucius taught that order begins with character. When people act with respect and care, society becomes stable. His ideas still influence millions of people today. Aristotle was a Greek philosopher who lived around 384 BC. He was born in the city of Stagira, in northern Greece. His father worked as a doctor for the royal family. As a young man, Aristotle moved to Athens. There, he studied at Plato's academy for nearly 20 years. Plato was his teacher, but Aristotle did not agree with all of his ideas. Plato focused on perfect ideas beyond the physical world. Aristotle believed knowledge starts with observation. He thought we learn by studying the world around us. After Plato's death, Aristotle left Athens. He later became the tutor of a young prince named Alexander. This student would become Alexander the Great. When Aristotle returned to Athens, he opened his own school. It was called the Lyceum. Students there studied many subjects, not just philosophy. Aristotle believed everything has a purpose. He asked why things exist and what they are meant to do. This idea shaped how people thought about nature and life. He studied animals, plants, politics, logic, and ethics. He collected facts and grouped them carefully. This method helped create early scientific thinking. In ethics, Aristotle focused on balance. He believed a good life avoids extremes. Courage, for example, lies between fear and recklessness. He believed happiness comes from living well. This meant using reason and making good choices. We become better by practicing good habits. Aristotle also wrote about government. He studied many types of political systems. He believed the best system depends on the people. Late in life, Aristotle faced political pressure. After Alexander's death, Athens turned against him. He left the city to avoid trial. Aristotle died in 322 BC. But his ideas did not disappear. They were preserved and studied for centuries. His work influenced science, philosophy, and education. Many modern subjects trace back to his thinking. He helped shape how humans study the world. Aristotle showed that careful observation matters. He taught that knowledge grows from experience. His ideas still guide how we think and learn today. Epicurus was a Greek philosopher who lived around 341 BC. He was born on the island of Samos. Later, he moved to Athens, where he spent most of his life teaching. Epicurus believed the goal of life was happiness, but his idea of happiness was simple and calm. It was not about luxury or pleasure in excess. He taught that true happiness comes from peace of mind. This meant freedom from fear, pain, and stress. He believed a quiet life was better than a busy one. Epicurus founded a school called the Garden. It was open to women and slaves, which was rare at the time. Students lived and learned together as equals. He believed fear was the greatest source of human suffering. People feared the gods. They feared death. Epicurus tried to remove both fears. He taught that the gods do not punish humans. They exist, but they do not control daily life. Because of this, people should not live in fear of divine anger. Epicurus also believed death should not be feared. He said that when we exist, death is not present, and when death is present, we no longer exist. For Epicurus, pleasure meant the absence of pain. Simple food, friendship, and rest were enough. He believed strong friendships were essential to a good life. Many people misunderstood his ideas. They thought he promoted excess and indulgence. In reality, he taught moderation and self-control. Epicurus died in 270 BC. His followers kept his ideas alive for centuries. His philosophy influenced later thinkers in ethics and science. Epicurus taught that happiness is simple. A calm mind matters more than wealth or fame. His ideas still speak to people seeking a peaceful life. Thomas Aquinas was a philosopher and theologian who lived from 1225 to 1274. He was born in Italy, near the town of Aquino. He grew up during the Middle Ages. a time when religion shaped daily life. Aquinas came from a noble family. His family expected him to become a monk with influence and status. But Aquinas chose a quiet life of study instead. He joined the Dominican order, which focused on teaching and learning. This decision upset his family. They even tried to stop him from leaving home. Aquinas believed faith and reason should work together. Many people thought faith alone was enough. Aquinas argued that human reason also matters. He studied the works of Aristotle, which had recently returned to Europe. Some church leaders feared these ideas. Aquinas believed they could support religious belief, not weaken it. One of his main goals was to explain God using logic. He believed the world shows signs of order and purpose. From this, he argued that a creator must exist. Aquinas also wrote about ethics and human behavior. He believed people naturally seek good. A moral life means acting according to reason and virtue. His most famous work is Summa Theologica. In it, he asked questions and answered them step by step. This clear structure helps students learn complex ideas. Aquinas taught that law and morality are connected. He believed just laws reflect moral order. Unjust laws, in his view, should be questioned. During his life, Aquinas was respected but not widely famous. Some of his ideas were debated and criticized. Recognition came later. After his death in 1274, his influence grew. The church later honored him as a great teacher. His ideas shaped Catholic thought for centuries. Aquinas showed that belief and logic can coexist. He helped bridge ancient philosophy and medieval religion. His work still influences ethics and theology today. Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel was a German philosopher who lived from 1770 to 1831. He was born in the city of Stuttgart, in what is now Germany. Hegel grew up during a time of great change in Europe. The French Revolution happened when he was a young man. This event strongly influenced how he thought about history and society. Hegel believed history is not random. He thought it moves forward in a clear pattern. Each stage grows out of the one before it. His most famous idea is often called dialectic thinking. This means progress comes from conflict. An idea is challenged by its opposite. From this struggle, a new idea is formed. Hegel believed this process drives human history. Ideas, governments, and cultures all change this way. Nothing stays fixed forever. For Hegel, freedom was the main goal of history. He believed societies slowly learn what freedom means. Over time, laws and governments become more rational. Hegel also believed reality is shaped by the human mind. He thought ideas help form the world we live in. Understanding reality requires understanding thought itself. These ideas were hard to understand. Many people found his writing difficult. Even today, his work is known as challenging. Hegel taught at universities and gained influence during his life. He believed the modern state played a key role in human progress. This view later caused debate and criticism. After Hegel's death in 1831, his ideas spread widely. Some thinkers supported his views, others strongly rejected them. His philosophy influenced many later movements. These include existentialism, political theory, and modern history. Thinkers like Karl Marx were shaped by Hegel's ideas. Hegel showed history as a process, not a collection of facts. He taught that change comes from struggle and tension. His ideas still shape how people think about progress today. Immanuel Kant was a German philosopher who lived from 1724 to 1804. He was born in Niggsburg, a small city in Prussia. Kant spent almost his entire life there. Kant lived a very strict and quiet life. He followed the same routine every day. People joked they could set their clocks by his daily walks. He studied philosophy, science, and math. For many years, he taught at a local university. At first, his work did not attract much attention. Kant believed philosophy had a serious problem. He thought earlier thinkers argued about the world itself, but they ignored how the human mind works. Kant asked a new question: how do we know what we know? This question changed everything. He argued that the mind is not passive. We do not simply receive the world as it is. Instead, the mind actively shapes experience. According to Kant, space and time are not things outside us. They are ways the mind organizes experience. Cause and effect work the same way. This means we never see reality directly. We only see the world as the mind presents it to us. This idea shocked many people. Kant believed science works because the mind gives order to nature. This helped explain why math and physics are reliable. The mind and the world work together. Kant also wrote deeply about morality. He believed morals must come from reason. Feelings and personal desires were not enough. He introduced a simple moral test. Before acting, ask one question: what if everyone did this? If the action causes harm when universal, it is wrong. Kant believed moral rules must apply to all people, no exceptions. He also believed people must never be used as tools. Every person has value on their own. This idea shaped modern views on human rights. For Kant, Freedom did not mean doing whatever you want. True freedom meant choosing to follow moral law. Reason, not impulse, should guide action. Kant's writing was careful and complex. Many readers found it difficult, but his ideas spread across Europe. Later thinkers responded strongly to Kant. Some built on his ideas. Others tried to challenge them. Kant died in 1804. He was buried in his hometown. His life was quiet, but his influence was not. Kant changed how people think about knowledge. He changed how people think about ethics. Modern philosophy cannot escape his impact. He showed that the human mind matters. He showed that reason sets limits and rules. His ideas still shape how we think today.